Hello guys, welcome back to another video. First Q&A of 2022. I'm really excited. I have told myself that I'm going to be doing more Q&As throughout the year just because I feel like they're such a nice way to just chat with you guys and get a little more personal and just connect with all of you. We have some really good questions. I'm excited about it and I'm just gonna get right into it. Actually, I'm gonna quickly do the thumbnail because if I don't shoot it at the beginning of the video, I just don't do it at all. Because after filming one of these, I'm so tired, so we'll be right back. Okay, so let's start with, what was your biggest takeaway from 2021? It's so hard because for me, I feel like 2021 felt like 3 years altogether. Like the first part of 2021 felt so different from the last 3-4 months of 2021. So if I had to choose one, just like right here, right now, off the top of my head, I feel like I would say that being selfish is not a bad thing. I feel like sometimes being selfish is actually the right thing to do or the important thing to do. And I'm not saying that you should be a selfish person, not by any means, but I feel like being selfish in certain decisions in certain situations is really important. And there were a couple of times last year where I felt like there was somewhat of a crossroad for me where I would either sacrifice myself or sacrifice someone else. And I was always rewarded when I made the decision to do what was best for me, you know? It kind of sounds twisted in the way that I'm saying it, but I think that the message about that is really important, especially if you tend to be the kind of person that puts other people's feelings first. I would say that was definitely a big takeaway from 2021. What are your financial goals for 2022? So if you guys followed me last year was all about like starting my investment journey. I had taken like an investment course the years prior and I was kind of just like doing my learning, and then last year I actually put those things into action. I feel like I'm a little bit, maybe that's actually better. Oh my god, so much better. Why didn't I do that before? Sorry, I had to fix that for a second because I felt like I was constantly like reaching over the books. So yeah, last year was about really putting that into action and putting a couple things into place so that I could really just start that journey. And then I think this year is just about continuing and yeah, maintaining that momentum because I am investing at a pretty good pace for my age and my position in life. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Speaking of momentum, I'll let you guys in on a little thing that I do every year. I've done for the past few years that I find really helpful. And that is I kind of pick a theme for the year. I usually do this by picking a word that's going to be the theme of my year. I know that some people do this, or some people do like a vision board, like a yearly vision board, which I feel like I just like update mine throughout the year when something changes. The word that I've decided on for 2022 is momentum. And I kind of struggled with what my word was going to be for this year. At first I wanted to choose align, like alignment, or refine. Like I had a ton of ideas for what I wanted, but I realized that I already feel very aligned in what I'm doing and where I'm going, but I'm not in the stage yet where I feel like I'm refining what I'm doing, if that makes sense. I feel like that's maybe in a couple years I can use refine. I ended up choosing momentum because I want to say the last half of 2022, but let's say like the last 4 or 5 months, I was really like gaining speed in what I was doing in all areas of my life. So like my personal development, my work, everything with my book, my YouTube, my investments, like my money and all that stuff. And so when I was thinking about what I really want this year to be about, it's like, it's really just maintaining that speed and just growing and maintaining that momentum in all areas across the board. So yeah, that's my goal for 2022. If you guys have a word that you've chosen, I would love to know what it is and why. Or if you guys have any other goal setting / like self-reflection things you do at the start of a new year, I would love to know. Do you think life in New York City is stressful? I think in the beginning it is, for sure, like the first year or two, because you're just trying to get on your feet and you're trying to make friends, you're trying to get to know the city. And, you know, depending on where you're coming from too, it really is like an adjustment when it comes to the pace of New York. It's so incomparable to any other place that I've ever been to, at least. And I really do notice the difference when I leave. So yeah, I think in the beginning it's stressful. I don't know if I would say that I find it stressful now. I think there's just a lot of pressure. And I definitely do feel the constant pressure to perform, to grow, to challenge myself. I've mentioned this before, but even when it's a day off, there's always something to do, or it feels like you always have to do something. So yeah, in that sense, I think it can be stressful. And it can feel like there's a lot of pressure, but it's also just how you deal with it, and how you, what's the word that I'm looking for? How you kind of match that energy in your own time. So I think you have to be mindful of like your own downtime, and just really paying attention to what your body needs in order to manage that kind of lifestyle. How do you handle expectations and disappointment? P.S. Love you. Love you too. Expectations is a funny thing, because I feel like we all have expectations, whether that's about a person or about an event or a situation, but I don't think we're always entitled to have them. And I feel like we actually end up hurting ourselves because we have certain expectations of people or situations or events. I realized, I don't know, a couple years ago probably, that I expected everyone to treat me the way that I treat them. I also expected that people thought the same way that I did, valued the same things that I did. That's just not the case. So what I've done for myself is I said, you know, I can have expectations of certain people in my life. The first one being myself. I think expectations for yourself are really important because it motivates you, it drives you to achieve your goals and accomplish things in life. And I think it just overall fosters growth. So you should always have high expectations of yourself. And then I think that there's certain people who you're either very close to or have very good relationships with, like family members, a long-term partner, like someone who you're maybe living with, or, you know, someone you're married to. And then in the workplace too, like I can have expectations of my agency or my agents, and in that same breath they can also have expectations of me. Other than that, I don't think you can really put expectations on people, because it's almost like a sense of entitlement or a sense of control, and at the end of the day you just can't control people, you know what I mean? You can only really control whether you're going to allow it or your response. I feel like this question is coming from like a dating or relationship scenario. So with dating, you almost have to throw out your expectations and prioritize your own boundaries instead. So, you know, you enjoy getting to know this person, but you are very clear and forthcoming about your boundaries. And if something comes up that you don't like, you voice it, and then you act on it, whether you, you know, figure it out or whether you stop seeing this person. I don't know, I feel like that's the only way to really minimize the disappointment, but also like disappointment is just part of dating, and it's, you know, part of life sometimes. Like there's a reason why we feel that emotion, and oftentimes we learn something from it. So I don't know, like I understand why people want to avoid getting hurt, but at the same time, like some of the biggest lessons that I've learned have come from being disappointed or have come from being hurt, because I end up realizing something about myself that I can do different in the future. That was a long answer, but I like these kind of questions. What was the hardest thing for you when you first started modeling? I don't know, there were a lot of things that were hard in the beginning. I also started very young, so I feel like there were things that I remember being very hard at like various points of my career. In the very, very beginning, when I was like 11 or 12, the hardest thing was just having confidence. I feel like I didn't have any confidence. I was very scared to say my lines. I was very self-conscious, and I cared a lot about what other people thought. Like I remember this so clearly. Like I would have to do an audition on camera, And I knew how I wanted to say the lines. I was just scared about what people might think in the room. Obviously I was super young. I don't like blame myself for any of that by any means, but it is something that I remember very clearly that I found really hard. So there was that, but then there was also the first year that I lived in New York, you know, and don't get me wrong, there were great moments, and even making it to New York was a win in my book, but there were so many hard things about that first year, like living with girls who are just awful, not having any money, not booking any jobs, being insecure, struggling with your weight, comparing yourself to other girls. So yeah, those were some of the things that were the hardest for me. That's why I also wrote about all those things in my book, because I think those are fairly common things that models go through that aren't really talked about very much. But at the end of the day, I feel like it was all worth it because I learned so much, and I also have so much gratitude for the life that I have now because of that experience, you know? So yeah, even though those things were hard and not fun at the time, I don't regret it at all, because you just become a better person and you just appreciate life more, and you know, you learn to stand up for yourself and all those good things. My legs are really starting to hurt sitting like this. Do you ever still struggle with your body even though you're in a good place? Yeah, I mean, I definitely have moments where, you know, I'll see a picture of myself and I'll feel critical all of a sudden, or I'll wake up after going out and I won't like the way that I look, I won't like the way that I feel. Because, you know, alcohol and fried and greasy food definitely has an effect on my body. But anyway, I don't think that there's a single person in the world who doesn't have moments like that. I think it's just important that you know how to snap out of it and know how to move on, you know what I mean? And that's I guess what I'm looking for within myself, is that I don't take those feelings too seriously. I don't take those thoughts seriously at all. And I just change the channel in my mind. I say, you know what? Yeah, I don't feel my best right now. I don't look my best right now, but I had a great time last night. It was so worth it. I lived my life, had fun with my friends, and you know, tomorrow we're gonna get right back at it. And that's kind of how you have to look at those moments. It's not about not having them, it's about how you handle them and whether you're able to change your thinking. Okay, my camera's gonna die, so I'm gonna do one more question. Is NYC your end destination? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so, just because I really do want to have a family one day and I want to have space for that. So yeah, I don't know. I think a lot of that is still up in the air because I don't know who I'm gonna spend my life with. I don't know what my family life is gonna look like in the future. So that's all to be figured out later on. But I will definitely be here for another couple years for sure. Probably between like 3 to 5, if anything. So guys, that is it for the Q&A. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have any more questions, you can always leave them in the comment section down below. I almost said description box. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah!